right. Getting ready to go to Bama. Kent sent me the good news this morning. We hadn't won there back-to-back since 91, 92. That's going on 30 years. I guess we've only won there 5 times since 91. Is that right, Kent? So, been a rough spot for us. Alabama's obviously playing very well. They played Herb Jones last night. They hit 22 threes last night. That's about a month's worth of threes for us. And they hit them in one game. So, they're shooting it with confidence. Shackelford is playing very, very well. You go back and watch our game here. We won by 14, but if you watch it, Alabama's going to get a lot of confidence from that game. We didn't box them out. The ball just kind of bounced our way a couple times where Jones and Petty could have gotten easy putbacks. So we're going to have to play quite a bit better at a place that we haven't played very well at in a long time. So be a big challenge for us. And, we should have Charles Manning back. He had a good workout yesterday. His recovery's going well. He had a good workout this morning. We'll see how he reacts in practice the next couple of days. But if everything goes as scheduled, we'll have him back. He'll probably be on a minutes restriction, so he won't be able to play, 20, 30 minutes. But we don't need that. We just need a little bit of help. And hopefully we can get him back going a little bit.
Coach, we're getting late into the season. I know you talked about the lack of energy in the first half the other night. How do you address that with your team to somehow get 40 minutes?
No, I think it's natural. I mean, we've been getting off to really good starts. We got off to a good start at Auburn. It was our third game in 6 days against a physical team, and they knocked us off our cuts the first couple possessions. Offensively, we settled for a bunch of jump shots, and on our defensive end, we just weren't aggressive enough, and so. Excuse me. It hadn't been a major problem for us all year. It popped up that game, but it's our third game in 6 days. It was a 8:00 game. So I don't. I think hopefully we'll start better. If we don't start better at Alabama, we'll be down 15-0. It'll be a long road back there, but. We've started pretty well most of the year. I think it's one thing to talk about their physicality and talk about what they do. It's another thing when it kind of slaps you in the face, and I think it did, and it took us a little bit of time to adjust.
Darius, these last 2 games has been pretty great for you guys. When he's obviously not getting in foul trouble, just how big is he?
Well, he's in foul trouble at Auburn and still played well. He fouled out. If he doesn't foul out with 5 or 6 minutes left, we probably have a much better chance of winning that game. But, we need days to stay consistent, keep doing what he's doing, and we're certainly a lot better when he's on the court. He played well against Alabama the first time, had some big offensive rebounds, hit a couple big threes to get us going.
Well, what you've seen of the game from last night, the Alabama-Auburn game, was how
I got to watch it with Sheldon.
Huh?
I got to watch it with Sheldon at the radio show. We missed you.
I'll have to come by. It's down the street from my house.
We all sat there and watched the end of the game. But, yeah, sorry.
No. I love a good Sheldon story anytime. How atypical was this? I thought they were kind of a team like you guys, like to attack the basket, shoot a lot of free throws, that sort of thing.
Last night, I think they hit 22 threes and 8 twos, and they were 9 of 16 from the free throw line, if I have my math right on everything. Where they're really dangerous is at the free throw line. When they're hitting their threes and you're fouling them, driving and attacking the basket, that's where they really can put you in a tough spot. So we did a good job the first game of really owning the foul line and us driving and controlling the free throw line. And they missed some open threes against us. That's what we've got. Petty. They brought him off the bench for the first time all year, so he was a little bit off. We're going to have to be better. But we can't let them make a bunch of threes and us foul them, all the time. I thought Kyra Lewis last night did a very good job, 12 assists, triple-double. That's not easy to do. And I thought he did a great job of getting the ball to those guys. Shackelford shooting it with a lot of confidence. They didn't have Beetle Bolden the first time we played him, he was sick, and so they've got him back, and he's obviously another weapon that they have and can shoot. So I suspect they'll play Herb Jones a lot more against us, from what it sounds like after the game. Just reading some of what Coach Oates was saying, they're trying to kind of test him out a little bit at Auburn so they could play him major minutes against us on Saturday.
This late in the season, do you adjust your practice schedule at all to compensate for wear and tear on guys?
Yeah, we adjust it every week. Sometimes, I think we need to go harder. Sometimes we loosen it up. I can say I've never, just because we're so thin, I've never practiced this little with a team. We just we do a lot more walkthroughs and mental stuff. We don't do a lot of just, 5-on-5 up and down the court, getting after it. It's just tough with as few bodies as we have, and how dependent we are on a lot of guys to play major minutes. In fact, Kyra Lewis, I believe, is second in the SEC in minutes played, and Javante's third in minutes played. Isaiah Joe's first. He's been he's been out for Arkansas, but maybe it's Mason Jones who's first. I can't remember. One of the Arkansas guys is first. I think it's Joe. But Kyra plays a bunch. Javante plays a bunch. Alabama's kind of in the same situation we are. They play a pretty short rotation.
You only had a small sample size with Marlon and Charles together. How much did they help you on defense together?
Well, we'll see. Charles is very, very helpful defensively. What it's going to allow us to do, hopefully, is rest Javante and Skylar a little bit, where we're not playing them 38 minutes a game. We can get in a little bit more of a natural rotation with basically those three guys at the 1 and 2. You got Watford, Marlin, and Hyatt and Days that can kind of rotate at the 3 and 4, with Days and Emmett kind of rotating at the 4 and 5 when you need to. So you get into a little bit more natural positions. We can obviously move Marshall in there with the 1 and 2 a little bit also. So it just allows us to rotate a little bit more positionally and be a little bit better with what we're doing, and hopefully rest. Get our guys a little bit of rest. They've been very effective, but they're a lot more effective in 32 to 34 minutes as opposed to 36 to 38 minutes. And the cumulative effect of that as the season wears on could be great. So we need to hopefully get into some rotations and be able to help those guys out and help those guys rest.
I'll be honest, I didn't really follow your career before you got here. So what was your rotation like? Is this, are you normally a 7 to 8 guy? Or did you
I've evolved. Used to always play 9, 5 guards, 3 bigs, and a swing. And then as a head coach, I'd always played 9 until last year here. Then I played 8. I felt like 8 was good. I still feel like somewhere between 8 and 9 is probably the number. If I could choose, I would play 8. I'd have 8 real bodies that can go in there and play. That's what we had last year. I think 8's probably I'd been a 9 guy, but 9 you've kind of got somebody who's not real happy a lot of times because the 9th is playing 8 to 10. I can't do like what Florida State does. He plays 11 guys, double-digit minutes. That's incredible to me. But I think 8, between 8 and 9, but closer to 8.
Do you feel like the uncertainty last spring kind of contributed to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that hurt our depth big time. We'd have had at least another 2 players, probably a third. It hurt our depth. Hurt our depth big time. We had 2 kids who had told us they were coming, who are now at other schools and playing very, very well, and both 6'5" or bigger.
Has that picked up since? Have you been able to kind of make that ground up? I know obviously.
Oh, yeah, we're going to build our depth back up. We'll be ready to roll. We won't be in this situation again.
Yeah, Coach B.
Golly,
Based on the
News 2 taking over today. Golly.
based
Huh? Yeah.
based on some of the injuries, especially with Charles being out, how happy are you that you guys are at this point? I mean, obviously you're perfectionists, but I mean, to be able to get to this point with the injuries that you've had and maybe some of the issues that you've had, do you feel like you're kind of happy where you are based on the circumstances?
Well, you're never happy. You wish you're a game or two better here, a game or two better there. But, all in all, we're in a pretty good spot. We just signed up for this earlier in the year, and, to be in this spot with having the injuries, like you said, and not having, it would be hard to be in this spot with a full deck of cards. And, when we've had to shuffle some things and play guys out of position. We've had some guys that have been, unbelievably unselfish. There's lineups where we have Trendon Watford out there at the 5. He's a lot closer to a 3 than he is a 5. He starts at the 3 because we've got to have some length out there, but he's better matchup-wise at the 4. There's a lot of guys that are, kind of doing some different things for us to help us out because of the situation we're in. And some of the issues that we have are not our players' fault. I mean, we've had lineups out there when you look at the Vanderbilt game and the Auburn game where we've had Andre Hyatt at the 2, Marlon at the 3. I mean, that's not their fault. I mean, asking, and I love Hyatt, and he's going to be a great player for us, but asking him to guard a 2 guard in our league it's tough. I mean, it's tough if he doesn't have a knee brace on. You know what I'm saying? And asking Marlon to guard point guards off the bounce in our league is tough. Like, he was a heck of a defender for us last year, but he shut down other teams' 3s and 4s. For instance, we're at Auburn, and we didn't make all the right moves at Auburn, but, because of some of our foul trouble and our situation, we got Marlon guarding McCormick out there. And meanwhile, frickin' Cambridge is taking target practice on us. They're 3-man. And so, Cambridge is who Marlon's typically shut down for us. But we can't put Marlon on Cambridge because we got, so we get in just a lot of tough situations that are not our players' fault. And that's what I'm hoping Manning can get us back to where, all right, Marlon, you go take away their 3 or their 4-man. Don't let them get the shot off. You do what you do. Don't let him get the shot off because he can get up on those guys, contest the shot, and they still can't get by him because he's just quicker than them and more athletic than most of them. You got him on a point guard, he's got to stay back because those guys can go by him, and then you're just late contesting a shot. And if you got a good point guard who can make a shot off the bounce, that's a tough cover. That's not Marlon's fault. So hopefully with Charles, we got somebody who can guard that ball, guard those 1s and 2s. We can move Marlon back to guarding those 3s and 4s and shutting those guys down. And when he's in when he's in that position, he can get back to making those 2 or 3 plays a game that nobody else on the court makes. And so, that's where we've got to get back to.
To that end, these, I think, 8 games he's missed, Manning, is that right?
I don't. How many's been since A&M?
I thought I counted right, but
I don't
journalists
know.
doing math, so more than
Too many.
Too
But-
much.
Yeah, too many. 8 games.
Okay. Thank you. What have you been able to do in that stretch without him? How, looking back on it now, how pleased are you overall, considering you have these deficiencies and defensive problems? Yeah,
I mean, the fact that we've won 6 of them, right? 6 and 2 in that stretch. That's pretty good. We've had Hyatt step up at times. Marlon stepped up for us at times. What you hope as a coach is we've got those 5 guys scoring in double figures. We want to keep that going with that starting 5. We have great balance there, and then if you can get, the Marlon of Ole Miss and a couple of those other games and combine, and get Charles playing like he did against Mississippi State at home before he gets hurt, you get all that stuff kind of going together. Now you've got a really, 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 really good team. You got Hyatt back, confident and guarding and not having as much pressure on a shot and being able to make shots. So, I think we got to put all the ingredients together when we get them back, and you never know how that's going to go. But it's better to have all the groceries ready than have to go shop for them. And so, everybody, we're going to have everybody available, and now we've got to mix it up right and fix it right. But I think we've done a good job of just kind of hanging in there and surviving. We're hanging by a fingernail sometimes. I tell our staff all the time, it's like we're just, we're putting duct tape here and duct tape here, and, we rip the duct tape off, rip the tape off here and plug another hole, and we're just, we're just trying to, plug holes as best we can. But I don't want to say, I mean, we've got talented players now. I don't want to sound like we're just, don't throw us a bake sale now. We're not, it's not like we don't have very good players, but, we certainly don't have much margin for error. And when Charles and Marlon, I think maybe this will be the second or third game they've played together all year where we've had kind of a full complement. But even that, like Marlon was on a minutes restriction against East Tennessee State. We just haven't had everybody where we could fully go, and we're still probably a week away from that. But when we get everybody fully back and ready to go, we'll just have to see how it plays out.
I'm sorry if you already said this, but
You guys have a quota of questions?
no,
Oh.
I got nothing else to do today. So you're it. You looking for about 10 minutes from Charles?
Yeah, I think 10 to 12 minutes would be realistic. Like I said, we got to see how he reacts the next couple days and how he is mentally. We're not just going to force him out there, but we'll see how he is. But I think somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes is probably realistic. But that's 12 minutes that we can rest some other guys and hopefully be a little bit fresher down the stretch. So it may seem insignificant, but that's huge when you're playing 6 or 7 guys. If you can pick up 10 or 12 minutes from somebody else, that's huge. You can absorb a little bit of foul trouble. There's some things you can absorb. That's part of, and I'll say this too, I'm not taking up for our defense, but, the one thing we do well defensively is we don't foul. We're 22nd in the country in not fouling. Well, we have to design our defensive schemes around, we don't have a lot of players. And so, what we're doing, is that what we'd love to be doing? And do we think that's the best way to guard every team each night? No. But, the number one thing when we design our defense to stop any team is, all right, how can we keep our guys out of foul trouble and try to keep the ball in front? And that's why our three-point defense is so bad, is because we have to keep the ball in front. You got to give something up. Well, you're least likely to foul on a three-point shot. Now, we foul on three-point shots. We fouled on one at Auburn, and, you foul a little bit. So, part of our defensive issues are designed around, we just can't be as aggressive as we want to be because we're trying to, the only good stat we have defensively is we don't foul. Not the only good, but probably the best stat that we have defensively is we don't foul. And so, when you go into a game designing your defense around how can we not foul, you're going to give up some stuff. And that's been, part of the problem with our defensive struggles. So it all goes together is what I'm trying to say. It's all the whole package.